It was 6:52 a.m. when I saw the email. I hadn't even gotten out of bed yet, still half asleep. Phone screen lighting up my face. Subject line, urgent, immediate sync approval, Asia Pac. Sender, Preston Yates, my VP of Operations. Timestamp, 2:04 a.m. Right away, I knew it stunk. I sat up, wiped the crust from my eyes, and read it again. He was requesting full system sync authorization for the Asia-Pacific pipeline. No prep, no approvals, no protocol. The same protocols I helped write, enforce, and defend every quarter during audits. This wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a move. He used the word immediate 6 times. Time-sensitive directive. Escalation assumed. Authorize without delay. All of it written like it had already been discussed. Like I'd skipped a meeting that never existed. I'd seen this kind of thing before. Preston liked cutting corners and claiming genius afterward. He'd been trying to muscle me out of major decisions for over a year now, always with the same strategy. Rush, confuse, spin it as my fault. This one just had better staging. I didn't respond. I wasn't about to play into a trap, especially not over email at 2 in the morning. Quick note, before listening, share which city or country you're watching from. Instead, I flagged it, took a screenshot, forwarded it to my personal archive with a time backup. I figured I'd walk into the office, address it face to face, and make sure he got the message. I don't rubber stamp garbage, not for anyone. I showered, threw on my usual gray blazer, and caught the early train. Nothing felt off, not yet. Just the usual Monday haze, coffee in hand, inbox already blowing up. By the time I reached our building in downtown Chicago, it was 8:09. I badge in, hit the elevator, ride it to the 23rd floor. As soon as the doors open, I see Preston standing outside the glass conference room. He doesn't wave, doesn't speak, just snaps his fingers like I'm a waiter late with his check. Behind him, 2 people from HR are already seated. They're waiting for me. I don't ask why. I already know. I set my coffee down on the edge of the table. Didn't even sit. They slid the paper toward me. I looked down at the letter. It already had my name, my title, and the company logo in the header. Bottom right corner. 2 signatures. One from HR. One from Preston. Date stamped yesterday. Is this a joke? I asked. The woman across from me didn't answer. Her name tag said, Jennifer, HR Compliance. She just pointed at the 3rd line on the page. Termination effective immediately. Preston folded his arms and said, You failed to respond to a critical directive. That was it. No explanation, no follow-up, no discussion. Are you serious right now? I turned toward him. You sent an unvetted protocol-breaking directive at 2 in the morning and... This meeting is for delivery only, Jennifer cut in. The decision has already been finalized. I glanced around the room. 5 directors sat along the side wall. Familiar faces I'd spent the last 8 years solving crises with. Not one of them looked at me. Not even Joel, who I once drove to the ER after he passed out during a triple shift. I said, Anyone got the spine to tell me what this really is? Silence. I could hear the ventilation humming through the ceiling. The carpet smelled like stale coffee. No one moved. No one blinked. Jennifer slid a manila envelope across the table. IT has already processed system deactivation. I didn't even open it. I didn't need to. It was the standard script. They were washing their hands while the body was still warm. I pulled my badge from my pocket, held it in front of the glass sensor by the door. It blinked red. Access denied. Preston smirked like he'd just won a chess match. You just tanked 8 years of ops stability over one manufactured failure, I said. Congratulations. That's your opinion, he said, already turning his back. Jennifer stood. We've cleared the hallway. Someone from security will escort you to retrieve your personal items. Do you need assistance carrying anything? I laughed. You think I brought a suitcase to work? My whole career, awards, credentials, patents, late nights, was now a damn envelope and a badge that didn't work. Before we left the room, I looked back one last time. Nobody stood up. Nobody apologized. Not even a nod. This place used to feel like something I helped build. Now it was just drywall and people too afraid to speak. The security guy waiting outside didn't say a word, just pointed toward my office. I walked down the hall with him behind me, already hearing the whispers from desks we passed. Eyes dropped, faces turned. Inside my office, someone had already packed my stuff into a cheap company tote bag. My backup mouse, a mug from our Singapore launch, a photo of me and my sister from my first year here. That was it. That was what was left. I zipped up my jacket, slung the tote over my shoulder, and walked out. People saw me. I saw them see me. But their eyes dropped instantly, back to screens, back to phones. Some clicked their mouse like they were working on something urgent, like I wasn't even there. I passed by Tyler from logistics. I taught him how to run zone compliance reports when he was brand new. His whole face tensed when we made eye contact. He spun his chair around like he suddenly remembered something behind him. Allie from procurement pretended she was on a call. No one was on the other end. I could see her phone screen. It wasn't hate. It was fear. I wasn't being walked out. I was being erased. Every step down that hallway was slower than the last. My tote bag strap dug into my shoulder. I had nothing left to prove and nothing to carry but a bag of useless junk, and the weight of every fake smile I'd ever believed here. Whispers trailed behind me, soft but sharp. "Did you hear? Wasn't he?" That was fast. A guy near the break room chuckled and didn't bother hiding it. I didn't know his name. Probably never will. By the time I reached the midpoint, I could see the elevator at the far end. 10 more steps. Maybe 15. Then I heard sneakers jogging up behind me. "Mark!" a voice called out in a low hiss. I turned. It was Devin. Junior IT, still green, maybe 25. Nervous kid, but smart. He'd helped me with audit automation last fall. He reached me, shoved a folded piece of paper into my hand. It was warm, like he'd been holding it for a while. He looked me dead in the eyes and said, "The system remembers." That's all. No explanation, no handshake, no goodbye. He turned and walked off like nothing happened. I didn't open the note, not yet, just stared at it in my palm. It felt heavier than it should have, like 10 pounds of confirmation that I wasn't insane, that someone else saw it, someone else knew. I slid it into my pocket and kept walking, didn't look back, didn't flinch, just eyes forward, one foot in front of the other, while ghosts whispered behind me. I didn't go home, I didn't call anyone, I just kept walking. 6 blocks down, there was this old diner on the corner of 5th and Dearborn. Beige booths, flickering overhead lights, and a waitress who didn't ask questions. That's exactly what I needed. I picked the back corner booth, dropped my tote on the seat, and pulled out my laptop. It was my personal one, stripped down but clean. Just coffee and access, no distractions. I ordered black, no sugar. She nodded and walked away. I opened the screen and took a breath. I hadn't used the backdoor port in over 2 years, but I'd never killed it. Too risky. I designed the diagnostic shell to run silently, for recovery, emergencies, code tracebacks when something didn't add up. Nobody else even knew it existed. I typed in the command string, waited, then it loaded. The familiar blue diagnostic interface blinked to life. Raw numbers, cues, sync status bars. And what I saw made my stomach drop. The system was bleeding. Payment queues were frozen, some running hours behind, others duplicated. A few were cleared with no timestamp at all. Approval records were overlapping. Europe syncing with Asia, US records feeding into Australian nodes. It was a digital train wreck, and it was accelerating. I pulled up the multi-region sync dashboard and saw what I always feared. The markers were in red across the board. Time-stamped sync failures, regional dissonance, API conflicts. Everything that wasn't supposed to be possible was happening. At once. This was the exact scenario I'd spent 8 years building protection layers against. Without precision, everything collapsed. Trust, data integrity, legal compliance, all gone. I minimized the visual and went straight for the compliance logs. I knew what I was looking for. Timestamp, 2:04 a.m. There it was, manual override. Detected origin, admin, tier 1. Protocol source. Credentials, mwilkins.opis. Directive code, push_APAC_. Direct my name, my credentials, my access tier. Except I didn't send it. The signature was wrong, off by a byte. Sloppy work if you knew what to look for. Then I saw something else. The watchdog had fired exactly as designed. tagging the impersonation and forwarding the packet to the SEC. Whoever forced the override had just left a trail they couldn't erase. I drained the rest of my coffee and reloaded the dashboard. The chaos was still growing. Data loops forming, region sync failures doubling, customer-side alerts starting to hit the edges of the screen. I clicked the screen off, slammed the laptop shut. Back at HQ, Preston was already in full performance mode. Boardroom blinds drawn. Lights dimmed just enough to make the big screen glow like gospel. Directors lined up like judges. A few I recognized, stone-faced, loyal to optics over truth. A few others looked newer, younger, still figuring out who to nod at. And there he was, standing at the head of the table like he owned the building. I stepped in to modernize what he resisted. What you're seeing now is the system finally surfacing the cracks he kept hidden. He tapped the screen, showing a cluster of error reports, color-coded, exaggerated, stripped of context. Not real-time data, just screenshots he cherry-picked to tell his version. And for a second, a real sickening second, they believed him. The CEO leaned forward. The head of ops nodded slowly. A couple side glances bounced around the table like silent "I told you so's." Preston saw it. He pushed harder. Firing him exposed the issue. His configurations were outdated, unscalable, impossible to monitor under high load. I've already begun a transition plan to eliminate his frameworks by the fourth quarter. He made it sound so clean, like cutting me loose was the upgrade. Then the CFO, Bennett, tilted his laptop. Quiet, steady. He didn't say a word, just clicked something and turned the screen toward legal. I knew what he was showing them. I knew that screen. The 2:04 a.m. override, still tagged with my credentials, but now paired with a push log, one showing the real source device, Preston's. A registered Tier 1 override from his machine, from his IP. Manually forced, no backup approval, no second sign-off, no trace of a protocol chain. Legal leaned in. The VP of compliance adjusted her glasses and muttered, "Wait, that came from..." Preston didn't hear her. He was too deep in the performance. I've scheduled a clean rebuild of the sync structure. We're streamlining dependencies, cutting dead weight, and creating real-time visibility we've never had before. He was still selling, still riding the high of his own voice, not realizing the floor underneath him had started to crack. See, legacy thinkers like Mark... Preston, Bennett said, cutting in flat. Can you explain this? Preston turned, confused. Explain what? Bennett pushed the laptop across the table. That override, he said. It came from your workstation. Preston blinked. That's not possible. It was logged under Mark's credential cloning, Legal said quietly. Tier 1 impersonation shows up in the hash mismatch. That's why it triggered. The room shifted. You could feel it, like the air changed weight. No one looked at the screen anymore. They looked at Preston. He tried to recover. Look, this whole thing, it's more complicated than... It's not, Bennett said. You pushed it. Legal opened a new tab and began typing. Compliance pulled out a notepad. Silence grew, heavy, real. Preston's mouth kept moving, but nothing he said stuck. The spotlight was still on him, but the applause had stopped. I was still at the diner, same booth, same half-drained coffee, laptop closed, but heartbeat wide open. Then my phone lit up. 3 vibrations in a row. First one, a message from Lisa in QA. I'm so sorry. We didn't know what was really happening. Second, Eric from International Ops. It's blowing up. People are panicking. Preston's on lockdown. I didn't respond to either, just stared at the screen as more poured in. Slack messages, private LinkedIn pings, even a couple texts from people who hadn't spoken to me in years. All suddenly remembering I existed. Everyone was scrambling to cover their own ass now that Preston's show was falling apart. Then came the one that mattered. Devin. It was a photo. Blurry but readable. A chat screenshot. Internal messaging, time-stamped 3 weeks ago. Preston Yates, 5:42 p.m. We'll push Asia Pac next month. Use Wilkins credentials. Preston Yates, 5:43 p.m. I'll handle Mark. Under it, Devin's message. Didn't want to text this before. Figured now was the time my hands clenched so tight around the phone I nearly cracked it. The log showed the override. The system flagged the impersonation. And now, here it was. Chat proof he planned the whole damn thing in advance. 3 weeks in advance. I forwarded the screenshot to my personal archive, then added it to the backup chain I'd already started uploading from the diagnostic port. My insurance policy was growing fast. Inside HQ, things were unraveling faster than any of them could manage. Another message pinged in, someone from payroll. Did you hear about the benefits wipe? People's insurance records are gone. Then another, executive travel fund got zeroed out. And another, we lost 2 international contracts this morning. Legal's melting down. Preston hadn't just faked a directive. He set off a digital landslide. One override sent the system off balance, and now the whole structure was crashing. At 10:15 a.m., I got the first Google alert. Headline, key engineer fired hours before collapse. Subhead, critical system failure traces back to overnight override. They didn't name Preston, they named me. Mark Wilkins, senior global sync lead, was removed less than 2 hours before the collapse. My name was front and center. No context, no detail. Just enough to start a narrative, the wrong one. I knew how this worked. The press didn't need facts yet, just blood. My phone buzzed again. This time, it was a call. Unknown number. I didn't answer. Buzzed again. Another. Then a text. Interested in hearing your side. Can go on record. Business Tech Weekly. Then another one. Are you available for an interview today? We've seen the SEC tip leak a leak. I already knew the SEC had the packet, but if reporters were hearing about it, that meant it was spreading fast. A flurry of system beacons were going off in real time. Security errors, sync alerts, data inconsistencies stacked deep, and buried in the outbound flags, I saw it. The original watchdog dump, sent securely, logged as received. The SEC had it. Preston's setup wasn't just crumbling, it was already exposed. I sat back in the booth, screen glowing, inbox filling, media reaching. I didn't smile. I didn't relax, I just kept watching. Across town, Preston was still talking when legal dropped the hammer. The boardroom had shifted from tense curiosity to open suspicion. The chat messages were printed now, full-page blow-ups on the table. Preston's name was bold, the timestamp circled in red. I'll handle Mark. There was no spinning that. Legal walked through the logs line by line. The override, the credential mismatch, the push from Preston's own terminal, the use of my admin token without my digital key. The timing, 2:04 a.m., matching exactly. No ambiguity, no maybes, just facts. One of the directors read the message out loud, slow and steady. Preston didn't interrupt. He just stood there, hands twitching at his sides. I didn't mean handle like that, he said finally. That's out of context. The head of compliance tilted her head. Then explain what you did mean. Preston's mouth opened. Nothing came out. Then, it wasn't supposed to. Look, I was protecting the company. Silence. He wiped his face with the back of his hand. Sweat clung to his collar. His tie was crooked now. His pitch had collapsed into a stammer. This is being blown way out of proportion. The CFO stood. It's fraud, Preston. And that was it. No drawn-out vote, no whispered discussion, no exit speech. By 11:42 a.m., building security entered the room. 2 guys in plain suits, no rush, no drama, just procedure. One carried a small box. The other handed Preston a folded document. He didn't even argue, just stared at it, stunned. He looked up, tried to lock eyes with someone, anyone, nothing. No one even shifted. They let him walk to the door under his own weight, then followed him down the hall. The media had already smelled blood. By the time he hit the ground floor, someone outside had a camera rolling. The footage showed Preston leaving through the side exit, suit jacket in hand, face pale, reporters yelling over one another. No words, no comment, just him disappearing into a black sedan. Back in the boardroom, legal relocked the files. The CEO whispered something to compliance. Phones came out. People started damage control. And the system, it finally gave out. Dashboards across the globe flatlined. Real-time sync status showed error 506 languages. Regional data centers began going dark. Failsafes triggered in reverse, thinking they were under cyber attack. My off-site node showed the ripple. Transaction queues dumped, timestamps null, international wires halted mid-route. In the span of 21 minutes, over $3 billion in transactions vanished. Not stolen, just unrecoverable. Insurers, banks, clients. Everyone started flooding the lines. Contracts invalidated in seconds. Overnight conversions were dead. Reputations weren't just damaged, they were torched. And I wasn't even in the building. My phone buzzed again. It was a message from Morgan, one of our biggest enterprise clients in Zurich. We only trusted the system because we knew you were behind it. That one hit hard, not because it surprised me, but because it confirmed everything. I had built something solid, unshakable. It only fell because someone tried to fake it and got caught. I stayed right there at the diner, same booth, until the sun finally broke through the clouds and hit the sidewalk like a spotlight. Felt like the first real breath I'd taken all day. I took my coffee outside and sat at one of those rusted metal tables by the window. It wobbled, my chair squeaked, didn't matter. I wasn't moving. The headlines were changing by the hour now. What started as engineer fired before collapse had shifted to internal fraud linked to VP override by lunchtime. Another one popped up, credential cloning triggered chain reaction. They still didn't have Preston's name in bold, but they would. The press always catches up. Apologies started rolling in next. Slack messages from people who had ignored me that morning. I should have said something. We all knew you built the sync framework. I stayed quiet because I didn't want to be next. One from Joel hit different. You saved my job twice. I didn't even look at you when you got walked out. That's on me. I didn't answer any of them. I just watched the city move around me. The hum of downtown, horns, foot traffic, the normal buzz I'd tuned out for years. Then my phone pinged again. New email. Subject. SEC status. Inquiry closed. Body. You are not a subject of our ongoing investigation. We are pursuing actions related to executive misconduct within your former employer. Thank you for your cooperation and the system-level documentation. That was the first time all day I let out a full breath. 2 minutes later, another email came in. Subject. Offer. Chief Compliance Architect. From Trident FinTech. Holdings. I opened it. Read it twice. They weren't offering some soft landing or mid-level position. They wanted me at the top. Full autonomy, global control, design from the ground up. Salary was solid, terms better. But what caught me was the last line. We want a system that never needs a scapegoat. I leaned back and let the sun hit my face. For the first time in years, I didn't feel like I was defending something that didn't want me. I didn't feel buried in politics or trying to keep broken leadership from tanking the work. I felt clear. My mom used to say, "What's built right can't be stolen, only imitated." I never really got it as a kid, thought it was just one of her sayings. But now, I looked down at the message again, thought about the systems I'd built, thought about what came next. I got up, walked back inside, and asked for a fresh cup. At 12:30 p.m., I left the diner. The sun was sharp overhead, the sidewalk hot under my shoes. Chicago noise swirled around me. Buses, horns, someone yelling into a phone 2 blocks away. But in my head, everything was still. I didn't check my email, didn't refresh the news. I didn't need to. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Another offer. Another firm watching the wreckage unfold in real time, ready to scoop up what Preston tried to bury. I didn't answer. Across the street, someone had a tablet up, streaming the live feed. I caught a glimpse of it over their shoulder. It was Preston. The footage had gone wide. There he was, walking out of the building. No coat, no entourage, just that frozen face and 2 security guards flanking him like forgotten luggage. No press statement, no apology. Just the sound of shutters clicking and questions he'd never answer. Disgraced, exposed, silent. But the real story wasn't him. The real story was the wave of people leaving behind him. Hundreds of employees, developers, techs, admin staff, filing out slowly, one by one. Nobody yelling, no protests, just Quiet disappointment on every face, resignation. People who had worked through holidays, through late nights and panic drills, watching their system fall apart over politics and ego. I knew some of them by name, knew their kids' names, knew who they were before Preston turned everything into a numbers game. I stood there a minute, just watching them walk. I thought about all the hours I spent holding that infrastructure together. All the nights checking logs, rebuilding sink bridges no one else even noticed were failing. All the pieces I'd engineered for precision, for accountability, not for praise, not for credit, just because it needed to be done right. They didn't deserve what happened to them, and neither did I. But maybe now, for once, someone was actually paying attention, not to the noise, not to the headlines, to the system, to what breaks when you try to fake what should have been earned. I reached into my jacket and pulled out the folded paper Devin gave me, still there, a little wrinkled now, still sealed.